Hello children and welcome to this program on English. Today we have with us here our guest students from St. Mary Magdalene Girls Higher Secondary School, Chowai to participate with us. First, we have Friday Morning Dhar. We also have Ibal Napade and Sweet Memory Pasi.
Hello sir, we are very happy to have you on this program.
Hello sir, what are we going to learn today?
I will let you guess that. First of all, why don't you read the sentence on the screen? Perhaps you might get a clue on it.
Fine. Woman without a man is nothing.
No way sir, that's not right. It should be woman without her, man is nothing. It could never be the way you read it. Woman without her man, comma, that's not the way it should be. Woman without her.
Sir, why don't you tell us who was right?
Come on, I gave you such a very short sentence. You ended up arguing.
But that's because she didn't put the comma in the correct place.
Oh, so the problem arose because of the comma? That tiny squiggle in the middle of the sentence?
I've got it. We're going to learn about commas today.
Commas, full stops, question marks, and the whole lot of the other punctuation marks. We often think that punctuation is not that important. Take an essay, for example. You might have written a very good essay, but what if you have not punctuated it well? In that case, what the reader has understood might not be the same way you have intended.
Like that tricky sentence you gave us.
Exactly. That's why we are doing punctuation today. We also have seen why punctuation is very important, and we'll see some more examples as we go along. Today, we'll also learn the use of the different kinds of punctuation marks. We will start off with commas,
Sir, that would be really helpful. I've never really understood where to put a colon, and as for semicolon, I've never used them in my life.
The basic function of punctuation is to bring clarity to written sentences. Without proper punctuation, the reader would find it very difficult to understand what is written. When we speak, we use different things to make a meaning clear: stress, intonation, pauses, and so on. In the worst case scenario, we can always repeat what we have said, speaking slowly and with increased stress. However, when we write, these devices are replaced by punctuation. If we want the reader to get what we mean, we need to punctuate written work correctly. Otherwise, the reader will struggle to understand or even misunderstand what has been written.
We've already seen an example of that. So sir, punctuation marks actually tell us when to pause.
Yes, like the commas, the semicolon, the colon, the full stop. Are there any others?
Yes, there are 13 of them. Today we'll do some of them and the rest we'll handle in the next session. So, where do you like to start?
With the full stop, because I know all about it. It is used at the end of a sentence.
The full stop is chiefly used to mark the end of a sentence expressing a statement. For example, you should not tell lies. I asked if she knew the way to the post office. Garlic loves blood sugar. We also have seen how a full stop is used at the end of a request or at the end of comma, which is in imperative sentence. Full stop is also used in assertive sentence. That is when we simply write a statement. A full stop is also used to punctuate abbreviations, as in the U full stop, S full stop, A full stop, which is an abbreviation in the United States of America. In addition, it is used to punctuate initials. For example, M full stop, K full stop, Gandhi. In modern English, most of the abbreviation is not used with full stop. Come on, don't be so puzzled. It's easy. You will find that if the last letter of the abbreviation is the same like the last letter of the original word, in this case, a full stop is not used. I can give you an example. Suppose, in case of a doctor, you'll find that the last letter of the word is R, as well as the last letter of the abbreviation is also R. Hence, in this case, a full stop is not needed. Therefore, for example, if I want to say Dr. Singh, I simply write Dr. Singh, but not Dr. full stop Singh.
I think I understand. So Mr. would be plain MR without a full stop after R, because Mr. ends up with R.
Very good. Now a simple exercise to test your skill. Mrs. Danisha travels to US. Quite often, her sister lives there.
Mrs. Danisha, no, there won't be a full stop after Mrs. Travel to the US, yes, U full stop as full stop. Okay, I've got it. Mrs. Danisha traveled to the US quite often, full stop. Her sister lived there, full stop. Sir, those were two sentences?
Yes, two assertive sentences. That is why you had to end each of them with a full stop. Good. Now, I would like to add one more statement to the first two, and I would like you to do the punctuation on it. Mrs. Danisha travels to the US quite often. Her sisters live there. Have you ever traveled abroad?
That's a question. It will have a question mark.
Yes, you have learned the use of another punctuation mark. A question mark is used after a direct question. Many people always make a mistake and use a question mark after an indirect question. Let me explain. In the last example, the question was, have you ever traveled abroad? Here you would find that you were being asked that question. But suppose if I wanted to ask an information on another person, then I would ask you to ask her if she had ever traveled abroad. How about trying out few sentences? You can punctuate them as you read them.
Okay, she asked me where my parents were. Sir, that's an indirect question. It needs a full stop.
When will the train arrive? That's a direct question. It needs a question mark.
Do you know when the train arrives? Sir, you're trying to trick me. Do you know? That's a direct question. A question mark is needed.
The last one.
I'd like to know when the train arrives. Now that is an indirect question. It will end up in the full stop.
Excellent. One last point. We don't need to use a question mark when we make a polite request. For example, I would say, would you mind telling me your time? Ordinarily, we can also say, please tell me your time. In both these sentences, they show us a polite request. Therefore, a question mark is not needed. I would like to test your knowledge about basic science.
Science in an English class, sir?
Don't be nervous. It's simple. Do we breathe when we speak?
Naturally.
Now, let us talk about human beings. Most of the time, human beings communicate through speaking, don't they? No matter what the language they use, be it Khasi, Chinese or Karos, but you'll find that the most part of communication is through the speech, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Even when we speak fast like this. I don't know about you, but I'm going to buy all my groceries this evening because I need onions, potatoes, tomatoes, spinach, and all the other vegetables, not to mention rice, meat, and pulses, and of course all the spices is coming, coriander, cinnamon, cardamom. I also need sugar, oats, biscuit, tea, coffee.
Of course, we can't speak so fast, sir. We need to pause, to breathe, and honestly, I could hardly follow what you're saying.
That's where the punctuation comes in. Just as we need to pause and breathe while speaking, punctuation is a kind of breather while writing. Full stops and question marks are long breaths, while commas, colons, semicolons, etc. are shorter pauses. Back to the commas. I am going to give you simple rules to follow rather than technical term of the function. The first use of a comma. One may say that a comma is a substitute for an or in the list. It is used to separate words that belong to the same part of speech. You may have a list of 3 or more nouns, adverbs, or adjectives, one after the other. You could either separate them by using and, or they can be separated by commas. For example, I need to buy rice and wheat and sugar. This could be easily written as I need to buy rice, wheat, and sugar. A point to remember: when comma separates modifier or adjective, we need not use the word and at the end of the last modifier. For examples, she has beautiful long glossy hair. You could also write the sentence with an and before the word glossy. She has beautiful long and glossy hair. In the second sentence, you will find that the word and has replaced comma. A comma may also be used to separate 3 or more sentences. Look at these sentences. I play hockey. Sheena plays basketball. Terry plays cricket. We can link them together with a comma. Remember, the same principle applies. The last sentence can be linked to others with the help of the conjunction and. So you'll find that instead of 3 sentences, you have only one sentence. I play hockey, Sheena plays basketball, and Terry plays cricket. Would you like to take some sentences as a practice?
Yes, please.
The first sentence: an Indian may be Khasi or Pana or Garos or an Assamese, etc.
I have to take out all the ors. An Indian may be Khasis or Panars or Garos or an Assamese. Sir, there won't be an and before extra, will there?
No, there won't, because etc. means and so on. There's all the and there. The second sentence: men and women and children all shared the new president.
I'll keep the last and. Men, women, and children all cheered the new president.
Try this sentence. Despite the raging fire and not caring about his injuries, the brave man helped the other passengers climb out of the bus.
That's a long sentence. Despite the raging fire, comma, not caring about his injuries, comma, the brave man helped the other passengers climb out of the bus, full stop.
Excellent. In this sentence, you would find that the different phrases are separated by a comma. You will also find that a comma is also used before the end. This is when the sentence is in pair. For example, bread and butter, Romeo and Juliet.
Could you give me an example of this kind of sentence, please?
Of course, everything is neatly arranged on the shelves. Plate, cups and saucer, forks and spoons, knife, teaspoons and pots and pans.
Okay, everything was neatly arranged. That part is fine. Now for the list: plates, cups and saucer. Cups and saucer form a pair. Forks and spoons, pots and pans. I've got it.
Plates, cups and saucers, forks and spoons, knives, teaspoons and pots and pans. Is that right, sir?
Perfect. Would you like to sum up about what you have learned the punctuation so far?
May I start, please? Punctuation conveys the pause and expression in the text so that the reader can understand the meaning of what is written.
Good. And what are the punctuation marks you have learned today?
The comma, the full stop and question mark.
A full stop is used first at the end of a request or command. Second, at the end of an assertive or imperative sentence. Third, in abbreviations. Fourth, in initials. A question mark is used after a direct question. A comma has many uses. It is used to separate words that belong to the same part of speech. It can be used as a substitute for and or in a list. A comma may also be used to separate 3 or more sentences.
Sir, I'm sure there must be other uses for the comma.
Yes, there are, but we'll do them later. Right now,